Traveling the Vortex.
We've joined the Doctor as he travels the Vortex and landed at episode number 277. I hear parrots. Do you guys hear parrots? I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys? Do you hear parrots?
Nope.
Nope.
I must be hearing things then. I'm pretty sure there's a parrot in here.
Oh, Ramana.
I think it's that big word.
That big word. Bifurcation?
I was going to go with temporal shifting, but yeah, we can go with yours.
That's two words, Sean.
No, it's hyphenated.
Oh, okay. Did you guys have a good week?
4 H's in a silent Q. You figure it out.
Say anything with a convincing tone, Sean. Maybe people will believe it.
Anything with a convincing tone.
Oh, I believe it.
Guess what I did?
What'd you do?
I'll go first. Guess what I did?
What'd you do?
I finished 11/22/63.
How was it?
2263.
The Stephen
Oh,
King
yeah,
time travel
on
book.
Hulu, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the series is on Hulu. You finished the book. All right.
And before anybody out there gets any ideas, no, I didn't start reading it just because there's a TV show on.
Yeah, he did.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he saw that.
I've owned this book for a long time, and I just haven't
And
had
then
the chance to read it.
He saw the trailer for the TV show and
He
went,
said, I should read that.
I honestly had forgotten it was going to be a TV show until I was halfway through the book and somebody asked me, "Oh, are you reading that because of the show?" And I went, "What show?" And I said, "That one that's on." I was like, "It's already on?"
I can vouch for him because I was living with him when the book came out and he went and picked it up.
Oh, I know he got it. Yeah.
God, was it that long ago?
That was that long ago. It's long enough that they made a TV show, Sean.
So is it anything like the show?
I don't know.
Is it good?
It's really good. Yes. Really, really, really good.
Well, that must have been why they decided to make a show out of it.
I think that may have something to do with it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Loved it. It trucks. It's pretty, despite being 850 some odd pages.
No wonder it's a miniseries.
It moved at a pretty good clip. And
Surprised it's not a full-blown series with a book that long.
Yeah, no kidding.
don't give them any ideas, because then they'll under the dome it. Hey, that book was really good. Let's do another season.
Depending on how good this series does on Hulu, they may give it a second miniseries for that matter. Anything from Hollywood.
I just want people to realize that when you adapt a book, you've got a definitive beginning, middle, and end. If you go into season 1 and then halfway through go, let's do a season 2, it's like you can't do a season 2. You've already plotted out the end of this thing, theoretically. You should have had that. Anyway, the book's great. Highly recommend it. You especially would love it. I don't know about you, but it's good. But yeah. So.
What else did you do?
Not one mention of Doctor Who in that book.
Yeah.
You'd think, since it's 1963.
You'd think.
And it's all set in the UK. That's really strange that they would
No.
set a book in the UK and not mention Doctor Who. Wait a minute. It's not set in the UK?
It's not set in the UK.
It's set in where? The United States?
Yeah.
Well, of course there's no mention of Doctor Who. Are you kidding me?
Well,
But the guy from the future would know of it.
The guy from the future would know it. Oh, that's true. Maybe not. Maybe not classic Doctor Who. Maybe to the guy from the future, he thinks Doctor Who started in 2005. So.
Yeah, that's true.
guy from the future goes back in time to stop JFK from being assassinated. Now, if I'm this guy, I've got 2 things on my agenda. Option number 1, stop JFK from being assassinated.
I'm glad that's number 1.
That's number 1. Number 2, sit down and watch Doctor Who the next day.
I thought maybe it would be get with somebody at the BBC and said, hey, you're going to have this inclination to wipe some episodes later on.
Don't.
Hold on to those.
That would have been 3.
Or find somebody with some money who would then buy up the overseas copies early on.
That'd be 4.
Yeah, well, realistically, you could do that because obviously from the future you could invest in.
You can do it
I
yourself.
love how we have put, fortunately, the priority of saving JFK first, but we've put more resources into saving Doctor Who in the 2, 3, and 4.
Well, the other 2, 3, and 4 take more time.
Yeah, with JFK, it's a phone call. Dude, don't come to Dallas.
And it took him 800 pages to do that?
Crossed it off the list. I'm ready to go to England.
Wow, I don't have to read the book now. All it took was a phone call. 800 words. Talk about wordy.
Oh, spoilers. There's a little more to it than that.
Oh, okay.
I'd hope so.
Well, there's a lot more to it than that. But
Did you do anything else this week, John?
we watched some more Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Had a big meeting with the Planet Comic-Con folks for dishing out our volunteer duties and whatnot for that. It's coming up next month. Had some pretty exciting news that I can't necessarily leak. Well, I could, but I'm not going to. Ha ha ha! Sucks to be you. About some developments at British Fest that I'm pretty excited and happy about, and you all will get to see the fruits of those labors later. Yes, I did not stutter. I said, see the fruits of those labors. How's that for a cryptic comment?
I got 3 movies to watch this week.
What'd you watch?
I watched Crimson Peak.
Heard it was good. Heard it's not scary.
Well, the ghosts in it are very creepy and scary, very Guillermo del Toro. But it's kind of like Pan's Labyrinth in that aspect of you go in expecting a lot of ghosts or a lot of labyrinth, and it's really not that much of the movie. It was really entertaining, and I came away liking it. It's very atmospheric and very gothic. Kind of weird. It's not the top of the Del Toro movies by any stretch. And then I watched The Good Dinosaur. I really enjoyed that one. It's one I don't know if I'd go back and watch a lot, but I really enjoyed it while watching it. And then the third one I watched was Love and Mercy.
Ooh, I want to see that.
It's really well done. Kind of weird. And I had no idea about all this stuff that Brian Wilson went through. That was pretty much all I did. Finished Sleepy Hollow Season 3.
What'd you do?
We finished Mason's Pinewood Derby car. We did that, and then I caught up on... caught up. I'm caught up to nearly you guys. I'm at Season 4 on Clone Wars, which I'm so loving, and I think Season 3 was awesome. Some of the best bit of television I've ever seen were the first 3 episodes of Season 4. Mason and I sat down and decided to watch the first 2 episodes, which I had seen pieces of anyway, of Rebels. That's pretty much it. The kids were working on their cosplay this afternoon for Planet Comic-Con. So yesterday they did. They started it, and today actually, I say that we bought stuff for Caitlin's, and Caitlin and Mason have sat down and started on Mason's themselves.
Ooh.
So they are going to be Undertale characters. For listeners, if they're curious, she's going to be Undyne, which is this blue fish girl. And he's going to be a little character called Sans, which is a little skeleton guy. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, good for them. Wanting to cosplay. Shall we move on to news then? Our first bit of news. Wendy Padbury is coming back to Big Finish for some new adventures as Zoe. 2 upcoming releases. She recently recorded one of Big Finish's monthly short trips, The British Invasion. And these are half-hour adventures are only available via download from the Big Finish website, so you got to go there to get that. It's not known when it will be released, but next February seems likely. And Lost and Found... Wait, no, that's not the second one. Sorry. Trying to find the second one. And the second one is the Second Doctor Volume 1 Companion Chronicles. So it's a whole bunch of different stories. I'm trying to find the specific Zoe. Well, you just want to pick up that whole set. Because she's in several. The Integral by David Bartlett. The Edge by Rob Nisbel. And I'm not sure about... And those are the only 2 she's in. So, but the whole box set's going to be great because it's got The Mouthless Dead by John Pritchard, which has Ben and Polly and Jamie. A Story of Extinction, which has Jamie and Victoria. And then, of course, the other 2, which have Zoe and Jamie. So, that's exciting that Wendy Padbury's coming back for some more Zoe action.
Can never have too much Wendy Padbury as Zoe.
You really can't. Other news, Torchwood's coming back in comic form. So we've got 2 forms for Torchwood right now. We've got the Big Finish audios, and now Titan is bringing it back in comic form. Written by John Barrowman and his sister Carol E. Barrowman.
Who've written for Torchwood before, if I remember correctly.
They wrote a book.
They wrote a book?
He co-wrote the book.
Yeah, they both co-wrote the book. They haven't written for the TV show proper, but they wrote for external media.
Yeah, that one.
Sean, that wasn't the name of the book.
No.
Oh.
So the first issue will hit shelves July 6th, the week of Titan's 3rd annual Doctor Who Comics event on July 9th. So you can go pick that up on Doctor Who Comics Day.
So Titan's really kind of Star Warsing this. We've got a 10th Doctor, an 11th Doctor, and a 12th Doctor line. They just started a 9th Doctor line.
They've got a 4th Doctor miniseries.
The 4th Doctor miniseries, an 8th Doctor miniseries, and now a Torchwood line.
Yeah, which is a full-blown line. It's not a miniseries.
It's not a miniseries, it's a line. That's a lot of comics each month.
Yeah.
Which is exciting.
Yeah, it is.
It's exciting.
I like it.
Especially during these dismal months in between seasons.
It's really grand because Titan and Big Finish both have been doing a lot. Don't get me wrong, but it's really encouraging to see a lot of this stuff, this big tentpole stuff coming up in this year, especially since we're not getting Doctor Who on television this year. And so for Big Finish and Titan both to kind of step forward and give us some really unique tentpole, items, it's very encouraging.
And to be mainly New Who related.
Yeah, exactly.
So
to keeping the torch going for Doctor Who. Impressive.
Yeah. I look forward to reading these and seeing how they pan out.
And of course, we will get them on the schedule at some point coming up because Titan's been very good to us, and we wish to continue to be good to them and bring you all the reviews that are fit to print or broadcast.
Podcast. In other news, TopCon has announced a new guest, Spencer Wilding.
Who's Spencer Wilding, Keith?
Spencer Wilding is a man underneath the makeup that you might not recognize, but you know the roles.
What's he been in, Keith?
He's been in Who, which is the main reason we're excited about this.
Spencer Wilding.
He was in Cold War.
You asked who?
I know, and I forgot the next line.
I don't know. It's on third.
What Wilding? It doesn't really work.
Nope, he played a White Walker. Nope. He wasn't a Wilding. Sorry, he was on Game of Thrones too.
That worked.
I'm
going to sit quietly for at least 5 minutes.
Not that long.
No?
He was Skaldak in Cold War. He was the Wood King.
That was the Ice Warrior, right?
Yes.
Right.
He was the Wood King and the Dr. Widow in the Wardrobe. And he was the Creature in the God Complex. So the Minotaur.
Yeah, can we call him the Minotaur? He was kind of the Minotaur.
IMDb credited him as Creature. Because he's a cousin of the Minotaur. Or no, he's a cousin of the Naimon.
Yeah, he's a cousin of the Naimon. He was a Minotaur.
He was a Minotaur.
Because it was a labyrinth, and he was the keeper of the labyrinth. And the keeper of the labyrinth in Greek mythology was a Minotaur. He was a Minotaur.
Imdaba's just kind of gone down a little bit, in my estimation. They don't know what a Minotaur is?
I'm sure if I went to TARDIS Wiki, it would say otherwise. Other things that you might have seen him in, Guardians of the Galaxy. He's the headset, the Walkman guard.
The Walkman guard.
He's the guy.
Is that what IMDb credited him as?
No.
A Walkman guard?
Mean guard.
Okay.
Mean guard on
Mean
that
guard.
one.
Oh, well, okay.
Because that narrows it down.
Okay.
Well, I like yours much better.
Walkman guard was more descriptive, I suppose.
I see.
We need to get on Imdaba
Wasn't his Walkman,
and edit it. Can we do that?
I don't have those privileges.
No, I mean, but can we?
He was also in...
You're much better at this than Imdaba is.
I will do what I can. I'll see if I can become an editor on
I
Imdaba.
used to be an editor. I don't know if I still have
You
credentials.
have to pay, don't you?
Or have a... Like, the reason I was an editor is because we had a short film entered in a festival, and so we were able to go in there and add our information. So that's why you're all on Imdaba, thanks to me. That's why you can IMDb any one of us and find us in credits. So,
And it will not say creature.
no, it won't say creature.
Nor, unfortunately, will it say Walkman
I'm
guard.
credited as Man in Derby in the movie Kansas City. So, if you don't believe me, look it up.
He also was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, his first on-air credit as an actor. He was a Vogon soldier.
Was he in the movie or was he in the TV series?
The movie.
I thought he was relatively young.
He is. First role of 2005.
He's a big guy too.
He is.
6'7", I think.
There's a certain rumor going around now too that
You might
we
be
can't
seeing a lot more
qualify,
of him recently.
But yeah, we might be seeing him in a rather prominent role. Although the character hasn't even been confirmed in the movie that he's rumored to be in, but yeah, he
never
may
know.
or may not be playing Darth Vader in Rogue One.
Spoilers.
May or may not. It's
May
a
or may
rumor,
not.
so it's not really a spoiler until it's been verified. Then it's a spoiler.
No, I don't think you can get away with that rationale.
Yeah, no, it's an
I agree.
unsubstantiated
It's an
rumor.
unsubstantiated rumor. But if I had come out 6 months ago and said, so there's a rumor that Han Solo may die in The Force Awakens,
Spoilers.
but it's a rumor.
Ouch! I'm not even sure that the spoiler
It's out on
allowance has been
Blu-ray.
lifted on
Really?
that.
It's out on Blu-ray.
Wow, Sean.
I am the biggest king
I
of
don't
not
think-
spoiling anything.
I
And you
don't
guys are
think-
going to come out
I
for that
don't
one.
think I would have even said that at this point. I mean, he's not even cold in the grave 6 months, and
Well,
you're
then
already spoiling that.
we'll have to edit this out.
Ouch!
Go with Dumbledore
Ooh.
instead.
What do you mean, Dumbledore? Dumbledore's not dead.
He gets a name drop in the new trailer. He's alive, and
I'm just saying you can't. You
Salamander's
can't. You
time.
can't.
Next thing you're going to tell me is Bruce Willis in that movie, The Sixth Sense, is dead.
Yep.
What?
If I came out 6 years ago and said, so the Titanic sinks, but it's an unsubstantiated rumor at this point.
6 months ago?
6 years. I said 6 years.
Years ago?
Yeah.
You need to have come out in 19 something.
Was it
1912?
1914, 1912?
No, the
Titanic
movie.
actually
The
sank?
Well,
movie.
we knew that was going to happen.
We knew
We
that
didn't-
based on
we
the
didn't
factual
know
events
that.
of 1912.
He could have changed the
14
ending.
or whatever whenever it happened.
Quentin Tarantino changed the ending of World War II. They could have changed the ending of that movie. That's my point.
Whoa. Quentin Tarantino changes the ending of World War II in what?
Inglourious Bastards.
Spoilers! I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. I just
I mean,
assumed.
come on, guys. Really?
I haven't seen that movie.
Just spoil everything.
I'm trying to think of something else.
Yeah, what's something big? We landed on the moon.
Next thing you're going to tell me that Vader is Luke's father or something.
Rosebud's a sleigh?
Sled.
Sled.
Close enough.
Close.
If you're going to do spoilers, get them right.
Oh, so close. I put these not quite right spoilers out there, and no one believes them.
Not quite right. I'm going to write a book. No, we're going to have a blog. Not quite right
Not quite
spoilers.
spoilers.
The Not Quite Right Spoilers Podcast. That's our next one, guys.
I think at the very least that should be a Twitter thing. Note to self. Let's go register a domain name.
Not Quite Right Spoilers. I like that. It'll really throw you off.
Where you don't think you got spoiled, but you really did. I'm trying to think of other
quite
great
right
examples of that.
Oh wait, do I have to have a separate email to sign up with this new thing?
And
Not Quite Right Spoilers at gmail.com. Come on.
speaking of convention news, there's some galley convention news, Sean.
Is there?
Yeah, you were telling us about it.
Oh, well, you should have said something.
Memories.
Should have said something before I switched over to Twitter to
They
register a
are
new.
still failing him.
Every time. Tickets for Gallifrey One's 2017 are sold out.
Oh,
Not that we didn't expect that. It took a little longer.
Spoilers.
Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Not that we didn't expect it. It took a little longer this year than last, but it did sell out. I think they lasted all of an hour, if that.
Oh, that's better than 12 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever it was.
They one piece of news that came out of this, apparently Gallifrey One has switched over to using Eventbrite for the ticket booking, and all of the reports that I saw were extremely favorable, and that it was a much easier and more not pulling of the hair, gnashing of the teeth, throwing of the computer kind of experience. So hopefully that's something they stick with for future years.
Yeah.
And if you got your tickets, fantastic for you. We are extremely happy. We will not be seeing you next year.
But we're looking for correspondence. So
Yeah,
if
we
you
are
are
looking
going
for
next year, or
correspondence.
think about us, and turn in some galley reports for us. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely.
We'll remind you again many times between now and February.
There you go. And I think that's it for news.
That is it for news. And no feedback this week, but if you want to, you can send us feedback on our website. There's a send feedback tab. Or you can send it directly to us at feedback@travelingthevortex.com. You can reach out to us on social media. We're on Facebook, Traveling the Vortex, or Twitter @TravelVortex. And don't forget about the Goodreads Book Club on Goodreads. Join in on the discussion there. My chair is really squeaky.
You're really squeaky
really
today.
squeaky.
I've
I'm not
noticed.
even moving that much.
I thought you were moving more than normal.
Am I?
I
sit
thought so,
stiller.
but
It's coming across, too. That's why I looked, is seeing if it was your chair or... It's definitely not
Apparently
yours.
got a wiggle butt.
We've got these different
we've got
chairs.
different chairs. I gave up on the other two. I'm not even going to bother rewelding them. I'm just going to toss them and buy new chairs. So I don't know when that'll happen, but
If I see any, I'll let you know.
yeah,
On discount.
keep your eye out for it.
5-finger discount.
No, we don't encourage that.
If it's on a curb, why not? Oh, you mean in stores?
Good luck trying to get a chair out of the store.
Sneak, sneak, sneak.
What do you mean? I came in with this shit.
Hey, you! What do you got there? Nothing. Can't believe you're trying to steal a chair.
Not a trench coat big enough.
Oh, shall we move on to our review then?
I'm running for the door in a pack of folding chairs.
Clang, clang, clang,
Clang,
clang,
clang,
clang, clang.
I don't know where those came from.
I can almost guarantee they're not security tagged, though.
Yeah. All right. The
Traveling in
sand.
Vortex neither condones or condemns the stealing of chairs.
We don't condemn it.
The Traveling in Vortex does not condemn. It's just, wait.
You said
Traveling
we neither condone or condemn.
Okay.
I think we need to rework the
Traveling the Vortex does not condone
endorse?
or endorse
There we go.
the stealing of chairs.
You're going to get our lawyers all kinds of angry at us.
It's a chair. I don't like condemning it. Is
We don't condone or condemn it. We're neither here nor there with it.
condemning somebody for a chair is kind of.
Oh, we didn't condemn them for the chair. We condemned them for the theft of said chair.
Well, I'm condemning you for your chairs because his is squeaky.
I'll go steal a chair.
We don't condone that.
Wait.
But we don't condemn it.
Oh, man. Excuse me.
That's the name of this week's show, The Chair Thief Spoilers. Sounds like an Oscar movie, The Chair Thief. Doesn't it sound like an overly long, stuffy English film?
The 13th chair thief.
Don't steal chairs. I'm going to have that on my conscience all night now.
I'm just going to start coming over with random chairs.
I'm
Where'd you steal that one this week, Keith?
I'm genuinely worried there's going to be some punk kid out there, a very impressionable young man listening to us going, they said it was all right. And then he's going to wind up in jail and before the judge. And, young man, why did you decide to steal that chair? Well, these 3 guys on the internet said it was okay.
Well, we're covered. We're on the internet. So it may or may not be true.
And we may or may not condone it.
Traveling in Vortex neither condones or endorses the stealing of chairs.
Thank you.
I get it right that time?
Yes.
Yes.
It's our official position on the matter.
Have we dragged this gag out long enough?
I think so.
Let's move on to our
But if you have a
reviews.
chair you'd like to donate, We won't ask any questions where it came from. Contact us through Patreon. Let's talk some Who, huh?
Actually, shouldn't we have them contact us through Craigslist for that one?
Do we have a Craigslist account?
I'll set one up. If it'll get us 3 new chairs.
You should totally set up a Nebraska Furniture Mart button on the website. And we'll set up a bridal registry.
Just 3 chairs.
Just 3 chairs.
3 chairs. Oh, wow. All right.
For those of you that don't live around here, Nebraska Furniture Mart is kind of like a little more of an upscale IKEA, where their stuff is just as expensive, but you don't have to put it together yourself.
There's a Nebraska Furniture Mart in Kansas City, Missouri. No, Kansas City, Kansas.
Yes.
So, actually, it's probably in Overland Park, isn't it?
You could pay for it, and we'll go pick it up.
It's in Wyandotte County. Nebraska Furniture Mart.
Yeah.
It's in Kansas City.
Well, there's one in Nebraska.
Yeah,
too,
The main one's in Nebraska. Omaha, right?
Kansas City's in Missouri, which is confusing.
Most of it.
Most of it. Yeah, Sylvester McCoy was kind of weirded out by that.
Most people are.
I bet Sylvester's never stolen a chair.
I don't know. The way he was looking.
Stole that golf cart.
Yeah.
He did steal a golf cart. No, he did not steal it. He borrowed it temporarily, gave it back after he was done joyriding through the car.
He joyrided a golf cart.
I suppose he stole it in the same way the doctor would have stolen something. He'd have returned it eventually. You know.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Or left it for someone else.
I wonder if that cop ever got that motorcycle back in Doctor Who the movie.
That's a good question.
It was
I'm sure it got recovered.
before transponders. So
It was before Uber, too. That would have saved him.
The doctor wouldn't have needed to steal a motorcycle then. If
The
they had
doctor's
Uber.
got an Uber account on his sonic screwdriver. Call up Uber.
Now I am imagining Peter Capaldi with his sonic sunglasses of calling Uber.
We have completely derailed. Let's get back on track.
At least we're back on Who.
Good point.
we have completely derailed. Let's get back on track.
I got it. I'll bring it back around. A panda in a stolen chair.
A what?
Panda in a stolen chair.
A panda.
Was the chair stolen there?
Well, it is now.
Oh, okay. I guess if he took it, who knows where he got it from? I doubt it was from
doctor
his
may
home
have
on
stolen it,
Gallifrey.
who
Who knows?
In Soviet Russia, chair steals you.
No, we're not going there this week. Oh.
The Sands of Life. Sheridan Moorkirk has just been elected president of Earth. The harsh realities of who really runs the planet are just beginning to dawn on her. And what's more, she's starting to hear voices. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Romana encounter a mass of aliens headed to Earth. Aliens who have already made the mistake of upsetting the infamous Cuthbert, an all-powerful CEO of the conglomerate, by destroying one of his space platforms. Will the Doctor and Romana be able to avert interspecies war that will destroy all life on Earth?
Crickets.
I'll tell you, if I could give the cast a dun-dun-dun, it would be a big one.
The cast was phenomenal.
Unfortunately, it was a stellar cast in a less than stellar story. 2-part story, nonetheless.
It was a stellar casting.
Yeah.
I think our stellar cast was unfortunately
no.
not given much to do.
No, I agree, but I think all of their performances were very good.
Yeah.
I even think down to that. I think they performed their characters to their best abilities. I think, unfortunately, the story, and I complete apologies to his name Nicholas Briggs, who wrote this and directed this.
Which you'd think.
Because he has written some good stuff, but it just I don't know. It just
I think it had a good nugget,
I didn't
but then
hate
it
it, but
wound up stretching for far too long.
Well, here's the problem that I had with
the first part is
it's
technically
2
3.
parts, and it feels rushed. And by that I mean it feels like there should have been.
The interesting part felt rushed.
Well,
we spent all this time in the desert, taking forever establishing everything, and then it gets to the actual threat and peril for the Earth, and that tends to go by really quickly.
See, I think that it was paced poorly in the 2 parts. It's like the first part was rushed, and the second part was rushed. And I really feel like that it was like there's a threat, and then suddenly there's not. And then there's a threat, and then suddenly there's not. And it was like there was, I guess by rushed, I don't mean that the story felt like it was rushed along, because you're right. We did kind of maybe spend a little too much time in the desert. But on the flip side, when they take the beast and take off with it, and then we've got this really good element of a story, of the nuggets there. You know, what do we do? Where do we go with this? And then suddenly it's like, oh, okay, well, we're going to flood the earth with a toxic poison that's going to kill these things, and that'll save humanity, because if these things actually do go through their birthing, they're going to kill humanity. And so it just seemed like a real resistance from the land to believe the doctor that they were in the wrong place, that they were infallible. She says that. She said, we're infallible. They say that. I suppose it was probably a collective voice. They said that they're infallible. And then the doctor's like, I'll give you proof as to why this is the wrong place. And then he never really presents concrete proof. It's like later he says,
until the end.
The reason why they decide not to continue the birthing process is because the president, which was good, it just wasn't big enough, was the president decides to keep them from dumping the toxin on the land. And it was like the land just goes, oh, you stopped it, we won't die? Okay, we'll move on. That was just too quick. There was too much of a turnaround. So there's too much, maybe it drags out too much at the beginning of both of these stories, and then the resolution for both of these stories, it seems like, oh, we're nearing 45 minutes. We've got to just quickly wrap this up, move on so we can do our second part. And to me, I think it might have been even better to combine these into one story and take out a lot of the padding.
Yeah.
And draw out the interesting nuggets of it and make 45 minutes, and then maybe it wouldn't feel so rushed, even though it's only 45 minutes as opposed to 130. And I don't know. I can't quite put my finger on what exactly could have been done to make this better.
It's not a bad story. It's just a middle of the road story. It's a fine, serviceable story. I thought it was a little telegraphed that they were in the wrong place. Obviously, we get that fairly early. That's like that can't be right. But then, as soon as we get word that whatever experiment that Cuthbert is working on his secret space station involves time and space, it's like, oh well,
yeah,
there we go. I mean, he's obviously,
and you get that really early on,
So, and then waiting for what really amounts to 5 segments of story, for that reveal to come out is kind of like any time now, guys. And maybe it's because they had such a stellar guest cast that they felt like we need to give them, more stuff to do. So here's some additional scenes and here's some stuff. And I mean, we've got David Warner. How excited was I? David Warner, he's on the cover. David Warner! And I'm just squeeing all over the place. And unfortunately, he is the very stereotypical megalomaniac bad guy. He's not even an interesting bad guy, which killed me because he's David Warner. He's just of the bad guy.
Even when he's a bad guy, normally he's a really likable bad guy.
Yeah.
And here he's not.
The whole character just kind of laid there. And Cuthbert,
he didn't have good motivations for the.
He's not even an interesting name. He's like Cher. Cuthbert.
I disagree. I quite
Cuthbert
liked
Smith.
the character Cuthbert. I kind of like this whole mysterious. The doctor doesn't even know who this guy is, but he's so famous on Earth, and it's like. That kind of treads a mystery there as well. And I sort of
like... If he comes back, they can fix it.
I'll let you know a little nugget here pretty soon, but what I really liked about it is the fact that every time you see David Warner play a villain, he plays a heavy villain. And he's quite frequently playing villains and things. He's been other things as well, but he's quite frequently playing villains, and it's a real heavy villain. So it was really kind of neat to see David Warner be able to kind of reel it back and play more of a middle-of-the-road corporate villain, which I really liked.
I don't mind that he was corporate. I don't mind that he was reeled back from his normal heavy. I just wish Cuthbert had been more interesting. He could have played corporate, and he could have still been more powerful. He could have played corporate and been more conniving. He could have played corporate.
See, I don't
and
think
been
he
more
needed
the-
to be conniving because
he
I
just
think
was,
what
you
comes
know.
across in this character that I really liked was his smugness. That's what I really liked about this character. He was just very smug and just very believed that he was going to get his way. And so I disagree. I love the way David Warner played it. I don't think it laid flat. I think it was.
I think he played it really well.
I think it was
just
a good
written
character.
kind of flat.
That-
I
I
think
don't
also,
want
and
to.
I
I'm not
didn't-
taking anything away from David Warner.
I didn't
think
know
it's the
this.
writing.
I didn't know this
He's a
ahead of
national
time.
treasure.
I didn't know this ahead of time, but I found out later after I'd heard this story that apparently Cuthbert was a character that Nicholas Briggs had back when they were doing the audio visuals. And
really?
it was a character that he really had kind of formulated and developed. And they've already asked David, well, obviously it's already happened, but they've already asked David Warner to come back and play Cuthbert again in this
Spoilers.
particular series. So, well, they spoiled it on the little Vortex podcast thing that they had behind the scenes. So Cuthbert will come back, and his sidekick, which I don't know if you guys knew this. Did you know that Toby Haydock played? What was the character's name?
Mr.
Dork.
Dork.
Did you guys know it was Toby Haydock?
I saw his
No.
name on the cover. I didn't know. That was
Yeah,
him.
not all
Yeah.
listening.
That's who it was, and he's coming back. And then, and I the character that kind of just laid there, and I thought to the actress's fault was Hallie Atwell's President
Moorcook.
Moorcook, but they called her kept calling her. Her real name was
Sheridan.
Sheridan.
who played Sheridan. And I was ecstatic to. In fact, I didn't see the cover of this, so I had no idea who was in it other than David Warner. It came to mind immediately when I heard him. I was like, I'm pretty sure that's David Warner. And then I had to go back and verify it because I'm not as familiar with him, but it sounded like David Warner to me. And but when I heard Hallie Atwell, it was one of those. I know that voice. Who is that? It's really, really familiar. And so that's when I went and I said, well, verified David Warner. And then I looked and I went, oh, that's Hallie Atwell. No wonder I recognized her voice. So I was just excited that she was in this audio play, but the character was just kind of It was very. I like the concept of she is elected because the people really want somebody that will put the conglomerate in their place. That will they're tired of conglomerate run Earth and society and them having such a heavy hand in everything. And so it's somebody that's going to stand up against the conglomerate and basically bring the power back to the people or back to the office.
It's a great political.
So she
idea.
goes there, and then immediately the first thing she does is kind of kowtow to him, which is an interesting dynamic. It can be in the story. But then throughout this whole thing, and part of the smugness plays into this, but through this whole thing until the very end, she never really stands up to him until the very end. And then even at the end, you get the impression that, she's going to pretty much cow down to him because money is what money talks. And they make that point, which I think is a good reason why they can bring Cuthbert back later. But I think they're going to have to bring Hallie back as well to play to play this out. So I think maybe there's more of a nugget there that they feel like they need to drag out. Maybe that's why this feels so humdrum. But that's the character that disappointed me, to be honest.
Yeah, I was same reaction. I was like, okay, this president could be really interesting, and then unfortunately she wasn't. And I don't think there was necessarily anything that Hallie did wrong with the way that she played her. I think it was just
the way
what
it
the
was
material
written.
that she was given. And then there was the general, and it was like, can we get a
I was just
more
waiting for him to die.
Yeah, I know. Can we get a more stereotypical
General
military?
Vincent?
Yeah.
Who, anybody know what part of Texas he was from? Because I'm betting it was somewhere deep south Texas, but
Yeah. No, I don't know.
It
Probably more like, yeah. He didn't really seem like an Austin Texan. He was more of anywhere else besides Austin.
yeah. I don't know. It just felt like you gave me this story, and we've got salmon. We've got space salmon swimming upstream to get to the desert, but they're on the wrong desert, and we figured that out pretty early. And then you give me these other three characters that unfortunately are just not very interesting. You've got the military mindset guy who's going to go blow up the salmon. You've got the corporate guy that wants to utilize the salmon for whatever scientific research he can get. And
No, he wants to.
He just wants to destroy him.
He wants to destroy him. Now he wants to find out what makes him tick.
What makes him
So
tick?
he can destroy him.
Because they screwed up his
Right.
experiment.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is it's a vendetta because of the fact that they screwed up his experiment when they came out of the vortex in the wrong place, and they came out of the vortex in the wrong place because of his experiment.
Right. and then you gave me the president who didn't really do it. I mean, she stood up to the military guy more than she stood up to the, and that was all after the
Cuthbert,
fact.
because and that's where I think that I felt like she needed to be the character needed to be a little stronger. It needed to be a little more convincing that, hey, I just got elected president. Now I've got a role to fulfill, and I think that it's tropish to do something like the unsure politician that has kind of bitten off more than they can chew, and sort of playing the once you get into office, then you kind of return to the status quo. But I think that was underplayed a little bit, because I think that she needed to come in there and feel like she needed to take charge and then be kind of knocked back a couple of places.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it. She comes in and she's automatically at this level, and she doesn't feel like there's any knockback. And so
especially since she just got elected.
Yeah. So she comes in headstrong, although she seemed a bit of the reluctant politician as well, because she makes it sound like that she was kind of pressed into office. She was kind of pressed through the system, but still, at that point, that's what she was elected for. And so I think that had she stood up to him and then got knocked back a peg, and then kind of played it cool, and then stood up to him again and then got knocked back a peg. Give me a few of these knocks before she finally realizes how to get past the smugness and the surety of the character, of Cuthbert's character. I think that would have played better. But unfortunately, she comes in at this same level the whole way and then suddenly stands up to him, but then returns. Then you realize we're going to return to the status quo, and I like that element of it. I like the fact that we didn't have a Rosie, the president now has all the power, and the power's back in the hands of the people that elected her. I that could have been the rosy ending to this, but the reality ending of the doctor saying, well, money talks, so it's, the conglomerate's not going anywhere. It's going to still be here, and Cuthbert's going to get away with everything that he did. And in reality, that's the case. And I kind of like ending that way, because it's not that Hollywood ending. It's kind of a different take on that. On the other hand, though, if she had been a stronger character and that was like another peg getting knocked back, that would have worked for me better, but it didn't. That didn't happen. So.
Yeah.
I think that's the frustrating thing, is if you're going to bring Cuthbert back, you didn't need to pull the teeth of the president in this story for that to happen, because you could have gone ahead and gone after him with both barrels, and then in the next story just simply come out and said, he's got the best lawyers. We couldn't hold him. We couldn't do this.
Oh, yeah.
Boom, done.
Easily fixed.
Give us a little bit of maybe he's in prison in some big cushy white collar, resort type prison, and he's running things from his cell and not really. What?
Spoilers.
Oh, well, okay.
Not for Doctor Who, for another property.
I don't know. I just felt like we got three very uninteresting characters, and then we got Space Salmon. And in the middle of both of them, we've got the Dr. Romana running around
trying to convince somebody of something.
Yeah. Well, and not being very convincing about it.
Romana does a better job than the Doctor does in trying to convince people.
Well,
and unfortunately, Tom doesn't get really the chance to be his charming, funny self in this either.
Well, I don't think he needs to be.
He's more serious.
I think the stakes are high. And so when the stakes are high, the Fourth Doctor doesn't have a lot of that charm and wit, because he understands. That's one of the things that his portrayal came across to me, that he realizes the stakes here, and so there's no fun in games.
It starts off kind of fun and games.
It does start off fun.
It does.
Asking about hard-boiled eggs.
So I can actually excuse...
You don't want to mix that with sand.
I can sort of excuse the reaction and the character that's portrayed in this as the Doctor. So I like that. Now, to what you're saying, though, sometimes it's fun to get the charming video, and so when you
even
don't
in the
get
middle
that,
of the serious stuff,
when you don't get that in a story at all, then it kind of sets you back a little bit, because you're, number one, we're in a humdrum story, and number two, we're not getting witty. Fourth Doctor,
and even when it's such a serious stakes, there's still usually some one line off joke occasionally, and there really wasn't much of that, I thought, once it got serious. And I found the lot interesting, if not Did you guys have flashes to less screamy Scream of the Shaka?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
it wasn't just me.
No.
Maybe it was just the worm aspect of
similar.
them coming up from the ground, and that's just what I kept going to. And it's like was trying to take that idea and make it better. And some aspects of it, like the time being part of them, was a really cool idea. It just almost doesn't feel like he realized it well enough.
Yeah, I also feel like the time slippage was kind of a cool
It was
nugget.
cool,
It was a cool
it
idea.
didn't feel like he did enough with it.
Well, that, and it felt very poorly realized, because if all you're going to do is have the Doctor quote himself,
Drop references and
or
misname the companions.
it's kind of, I don't know, when he's going, Harry Sullivan is an idiot, and quoting Genesis, imbecile. It's very, I felt, kind of marketed to
It's pandering.
the fanboys, but yeah, it came across as pandering, because it's like, okay, but if you don't do anything with that, I don't care.
Well, and I wonder, and this doesn't make it right, but I wonder if it was an easy way to recognize that there was a time slip going on by giving us something familiar, so we knew that we've seen these things. These are things we're familiar with, and you don't have a lot of Big Finish to reference for the Fourth Doctor, because we're not even fully into the second season yet. So you couldn't have used much from the first season of the audios.
Right.
And so I think the easiest way to do is go back and grasp things that people are familiar with, so that you can kind of convey to the audience that there is a time slip going on here. And I think that was the intent. Now, I don't think they pulled it off quite well enough, because it does come across as pandering. But on the flip side, I think that was probably the easiest way for them to convey that that's what was happening to the listener.
It almost felt like they put the time slips in just to have those references in the story.
No, I don't think that's true.
It just felt like,
I didn't feel that way.
To me, it just felt like the time slips were there just to be there. Like the effects that they put on the voices when the Lan were giving birth and all of that was effective enough for me that I understood that time was being distorted around them.
Well, I got the impression that the big time slip, the first one was the dematerialize. That the one we got the big chunk and him naming other companions and stuff like that, was when they come out, they dematerialize out of the vortex. It's when they come through whatever destroyed the space station, when they come through and that was the big giant one. They had those little time slips every time one of them did a birthing,
yeah.
But those were small. I think the big
we didn't
one,
get the references
big,
in the small
exactly.
ones.
That's what I'm saying. The big one that was very obvious
And
was
that one,
the first big
that one I
that
was
came
okay,
through.
I was
When
more okay
everybody
with. It's
came
the
through.
second one where we got more references. Like the second time that there was the big time slip, that one felt more unnecessary than the first one, because I don't remember why plot wise it was even there.
Well, the time slip in the middle one was the first birthing, the one that had.
Well, I thought it was in the second part.
Oh, but it was. Well, remember there were three that were birthed.
Yeah, but
the first one birthed at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
Or the end of the first story. The second one birthed, and because Tom said, "Oh, the second one it birthed there before they got to." Well, the one was already dead, and was it? It wasn't dead yet. It was being experimented on when the second one birthed, and then the Fourth Doctor calls out and says the third one's getting ready to birth, because that was like the point of no return. Once that happens, then they all birth.
See, and I guess because there wasn't any of those quotes in the third one,
I don't remember quotes in the second one. What quotes were in the
I
second one?
I don't remember it being at the birth. I don't remember quotes during the birth. I remember the one when they dematerialized in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then one in the second episode, or the second part.
Well, there was one at the end of the first episode, and then there was another one at the beginning of this. Well, near the beginning of this, that first part of the second story. That's the one I think you're remembering there.
Maybe.
The other problem that I had is, if you're going to quote Doctor Who, that's fine. If you're going to use that as a benchmark for us, that's fine. If you're going to bring up, if I were to show you a child and point out that this child would become totally evil down the road and be the cause of deaths of millions, could you then kill that child? You better have a story structured around that quote.
See, I think you're
and
right.
I don't think you can throw that one out there as a drop.
But I think
because it's too momentous.
That's the problem. Is he was making benchmarks and he was grasping at the most familiar lines, and that indeed is one of the most familiar lines from the Fourth Doctor. So I don't think it was so much for the bearing of the statement as much as it was the familiarity with the statement.
I agree that was
I think that's
probably
what
the
he did.
intent,
Yeah.
but it just...
Would we feel that way so much now more since we've seen The Magician's Assistant, though? When we did Magician's Apprentice, than when we did.
So
we have seen that. It has been addressed. It has been a very
If I had listened to this story first, I'd have gotten excited when I heard it, and then I'd have gotten let down when I realized that's not what this story was about.
Oh, okay.
Having come after Magician's Apprentice, I was even more excited and even more let down.
Well, even Big Finish has addressed that in the Davros story with the Eighth Doctor, where they've built around the whole...
Right. But that's what I mean. If you're going to use that quote, Davros has to show up. It's almost a, the two are tied together.
Yeah.
I just feel
I'm a little more forgiving there, but
I don't want to believe that it's pandering. But I agree with Keith. It felt a little bit like pandering.
I agree. I think it felt like pandering. But
it's
difficult
and
audio,
then
though,
K9.
to strike a visualization.
Yeah, that's true. But I think the effects that they put on there were sufficient enough.
No, the effects they used, I think the production of this was beyond phenomenal. I loved the way that, especially the first time slip was done with the synthesizing and the loops and the things that they did with it was very effective. And the fact that everybody dropped to a complete... that was the style of that was done really well. Audially, this thing was phenomenal,
and you had a lot of
voices from the land had the right amount of synthesized element to them. So there were a lot of pieces of it.
You had a lot of different pieces that went into this one. You had the news report at the beginning that then he being all Max Warp announcer voice guy that then transitioned
which was,
into TV.
Nicholas Bridge.
Yeah. Which then transitioned into the coming across from a TV speaker, and then you've got the synthesized land voices, and then you've got even the sound effects. Anybody else notice we heard a lot of K9's drive motor in this one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Things that I didn't notice before when we've had K9 in an audio. There was a lot of, and not just because he was stuck in the sand, but I mean, just, and I was like, oh, it's K9. He's actually, it sounds like he's in the studio with them running around.
Yeah, the sound editors on this did a phenomenal
And
job.
the music was so spot on for that time period. It was so well done.
They really drove that music.
That was one of the things I loved the most
Yeah.
was the music throughout the entire thing. Speaking of K9, I don't like how they treated him.
K9 got squashed.
Wondered when we get to that.
But because I didn't see it, I refuse to visualize it. And I know he's going to be okay.
It was interesting that when
yeah.
K9 wasn't there in the first story of this season, my first thought was they couldn't get Bob Baker's permission to use K9 in the Fourth Doctor Adventures. So I thought, okay, well, we'll get a K9-less season. So suddenly, in the first story of this two-parter, he shows up, and it's what's his name doing the voice? Liam Neeson, or not?
John Leeson.
John Leeson doing the voice. Liam Neeson. That would be something else.
I don't think I'd like him.
John
as
Leeson
K9.
doing the voice, and I thought, oh, wow, so they actually do have K9 in this, so he's going to play a predominant role. Well, he's in half of the first story
he kind
before
of
he
plays
gets
a prominent
squished.
role. I love their excuse of how they didn't let him be a part of the story of, the sand will cause havoc with your gears, and then, okay, well, he's going to come out. Well, he's going to solve this issue way too quickly. We have to get rid of him, so we squash him.
It's funny to when you look at this, Nicholas Briggs really fanboyed when he did this.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the reason being is because Nicholas Briggs also did the music on this, which
Oh,
is
did
why
he?
it has that very Fourth Doctor era feel, which I can't even remember who the composer at the time was, but he mimicked that style of music very much so, giving K9 the elements that they struggled with in reality back in the day, and they would use those things that are written here to write K9 out of stories because of the limitations of the dog. He really felt like that
He
was a
did that
piece
too,
of that
yeah.
era, so he did that even though he didn't have to.
Yeah.
He did that to make it really feel like a product of the 1970s.
Because he knew he couldn't
I think he
suddenly
fanboyed all
make
over this.
K9 hover just because he wanted to.
Right.
I mean,
He fanboyed all over this.
I agree, because
He
if
stayed
the
true to
doctor,
continuity.
If the Doctor had rescued K9 and picked him up and run with him, which was a great bit, 8 meters, 7 meters, 6 meters. I get it, K9. I can see her. 3, 2. It was like K9 was still compelled to keep going, even though. But I mean, if he could have carried him all the way to the chopper, and flown him to London.
The whole storyline would have been so much quicker.
The second half of this story is
would have been one part of
different.
that.
Yeah, because K-9 would have been there to hold them off. K-9 would have been there to, and maybe you could have given Cuthbert some evil, oh, I'm going to steal your dog. But I just... could have been Corella DeVille.
Yeah.
Was the second time slippage, was that somehow maybe the first three came through, the three elders came through first, and then the rest of them came through later?
I didn't get that impression.
I didn't get that impression either, but now that I think about it, I wonder if that was what they were trying to do.
No, because when they
arrived... You're right. The third one was the birthing, was why we got the slip there.
Yeah.
But you're right. There was another one in there.
Which I didn't remember any lines in the birthing.
No, there wasn't. But see, I didn't remember any lines in the second one either. So
well, the second one is when we get the touch these two wires together and the Daleks.
Oh, was that the second one? I was thinking that was. Oh no, the first one was the companion recalls.
The companion recalls.
Well, that's not even during.
That's
not even necessarily during the actual time slip.
That's after effect.
He's talking to Romana.
Well, but it's an after effect of that. Yeah,
because it's
that's what I'm
setting
saying.
That
Though
up, yeah.
it was callbacks to that.
But the actual
time slip
slippage
was the child line.
That was the first one.
Yeah, and
the second one was the Harry
I
Sullivan as an imbecile. I thought those were in the same one.
Those two might have been in the same one.
I think those were both in the first one.
Yeah,
but the second one was
the touch the two wires and the Daleks are no more. It was a much shorter time slip.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much the main line from that part.
And again, using both of those from the same episode, maybe even.
Well, that's probably why it was so heavy-handed for you, because you feel like it needs to go somewhere if you're going to use both of those lines.
Oh no, that's what it was. Because they used one in. They used more than Harry Sullivan as an imbecile from Ark in Space. He used the look at them out here; they're indomitable.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember which slippage that was in.
I don't remember. I think that was the first one.
That might have been tied in with the first one. There was a lot. I don't know. The first one felt like it went on and on and on.
Yeah,
it was
that's
all
right.
quotes. But at any rate,
the first one had to lay some impact, and so I understand why it went on and on. But yeah, no, it felt like pandering to me as well.
So at any rate,
Romana was still pretty good.
Romana was still pretty good. Mary Tam did a good job in this.
I thought the Fourth Doctor did a good job.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a female species reaching out to a female of another species in order to communicate. It's very mother instinct. They can connect. They have similarities as far as bond, and so it made sense, especially that Romana was able to, and Romana having less than a latent telepathic ability helps. But then when the president also hears it as well, I liked where they went with that. As it was that common link between them that allowed them to at least find a sympathetic voice for them. So that was clever. I liked that. Not that that's not tropey either, but
middling story. Yeah. It was okay.
It still makes me excited to listen to more of this line.
Oh, it does. I mean, it's as with anything, there is no such thing as bad Who. All Who is good Who, and even big, no Big Finish is necessarily bad Big Finish. Well, except for that one.
Depends on the story.
I just.
There was just so much potential here that it didn't feel reached.
Maybe part of it too. Honestly, is coming off of Friday Night Who. I had forgotten how enjoyable Armageddon Factor is as a story. I don't know why. I remember as a kid not really liking it. I remember as a kid just thinking, where this is the wrap of the geek, okay. And that nothing really... I remember the time loop seemed to go on and on and on forever.
Which it does.
The Marshal was constantly yelling fire, and the ship was constantly going... just over and over and over and over again. And it's there, but it doesn't feel like it's there more than it needed to be.
Yeah.
But you've got great bits from the Doctor. You've got a really interesting story. And you've got some fantastic K-9 stuff. And even Romana, I think is pretty good in that, despite the fact that she's still kind of deregulated down to companion in distress, especially when she gets locked in the cage at the end of the sixth part. But I think maybe coming off of that, which is the whole reason we scheduled that, was it's a Mary Tam story. So we'll watch some Mary Tam, and then coming off of a really, really good Mary Tam story into this one. Maybe that affected it a little bit.
Could be.
Maybe if we'd watched Power of Kroll, we would have been okay.
We'll put that one for the next one.
Yeah.
And that one, the big finish will be higher automatically.
Set the bar low.
Could be worse. Could be better. I didn't really like it.
What do we got coming up on the schedule, Sean?
Well, next week on the schedule, Friday Night Who is The End of the World, starring ninth Dr. Christopher Eccleston. And the reason for that is that our show next week is Beyond the Doctor with Christopher Eccleston in Elizabeth. So if you have the opportunity, go pick up the movie and watch it, and then
or boot up Netflix.
Or boot up Netflix. It is on Netflix. And is he in the second one?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either. I wonder if that's a spoiler.
Ooh.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen Elizabeth, I don't remember. But so we'll be talking about his performance in that, and then just a reminder that the following week, Friday Night Who is one of those additions and revisions that we made. We are still watching Ambassadors of Death, but we're not watching parts 1 through 3. We're watching parts 1 through 4 because it's 7 parts and not 6. So, keeping with our, let's do the first half and then second. And then some Lethbridge Stewart shorts on the show that week in between the two parts. So, still got plenty of time to get all those things done. And I guess I should throw out a reminder that if you haven't already started, there's still a little bit of time left of the month for you to get started on the Stone Rose for the Traveling the Vortex Book Club Goodreads selection for April, which now that I'm done with the Stephen King book, I can jump on.
Get started on that, yeah. I'm usually ahead of the game, but I haven't even started Stone Rose yet. So. All right, well, if you're not already a subscriber on or a supporter on Patreon, why not join Patreon and or become a supporter on Patreon, support this podcast. Every 100% of that goes back into this podcast, and we may even, who knows, use some of it to buy chairs. Since we can't steal them because we don't condone that.
Or endorse it.
Or condemn it. No, we do condemn it. We do condemn it. Don't steal chairs. All right. Also, if you'll notice on the right rail of our website, we have added a few more sponsors, so be sure to go and check those out for us. If you were living in the UK and you felt a little left out because most of our stores or sponsors were US-centric, you can go on there and purchase things through ForbiddenPlanet.com and buy things in your own country. So for our UK listeners, we've got that opportunity for you as well. I don't have anything else. If you guys don't have anything else?
Not Quite Right Spoilers is too long for a Twitter handle.
Oh.
Well, I will not be registering.
We'll let you know what we do next week with that. I will just let you know now. We're not. Spoilers.
Maybe we'll just hashtag it.
There you go.
Hashtag Not Quite Right Spoilers.
How about not spoilers? That's bloody. That's misleading. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Until next week, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you.
Thanks for listening, and don't steal chairs.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.